Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to call the August 6th meeting of the Common Council to order. I will ask our clerk to call the roll to determine a quorum.
Alderperson Weigel.
Here.
Barzak.
Excused.
Chaplesky.
Here.
Lysick.
Here.
May.
Here.
Probst.
Here.
Franke. Here. Rote.
Here.
Sengstack.
Here.
Vitale.
Here.
9 present, 1 excused.
We have a quorum. Alderman Weigel will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We now have a presentation. I'm going to ask my friend, the dean from my alma mater, UW-Milwaukee, Stan Stojkovic, to come up to do a presentation to our police department, as well as the accreditation team, please.
Hi, how are you?
Can you take pictures? I tried to do that.
I think we have everybody. Again, my name is Stan Stojkovic. I'm the Dean of the Helen Bader School of Social Welfare at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. I am also a commissioner on the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Accreditation Group. If you recall, some of you, I was here 3 years ago to approve and offer my support and my congratulations to the police department. At that time, Chief Mike Youngblood was on board. He is also a commissioner on the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Accreditation Group. But this year we have another 3 years have passed, and the department has successfully met the standards as required by Wiley Ag. So I'm here tonight to just give you a very brief history of Wiley Ag, the importance of what it does, the involvement of the police departments, and the West Allis Police Department in particular, under the leadership of Chief Padgett and the officers here. We'll get to that in a few moments, and the kinds of things that they've done. Now, Mayor, I don't know if you wanted to read this or if you wanted me to read it. That'd be great.
Have at it.
Okay. Here is the actual certification plaque. We will also give one at the Chiefs Association, the next Chiefs Association. I believe, Chief Padgett, you will be attending that association, and we'll be notifying or noticing them at the Chiefs Association as well. You must understand, before I read the plaque, that there are about 620 to 30 police departments in the state of Wisconsin. Those that are Wiley Ag certified number about 35 to 40. So this is really an accomplishment, an achievement that very few police departments in the state of Wisconsin actually pursue and then get. And in this particular case, West Allis has done it a number of times. So this is a real credit to the police chief, to the police department, to the mayor, to you here on the Common Council. So let me read this and be quiet, and we'll go forward from there. It says, the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Accreditation Group, be it hereby known that the West Allis Police Department has fully demonstrated its voluntary commitment to law enforcement excellence by its compliance to a body of standards deemed essential to the protection of life, safety, and rights of citizens it serves, and has exemplified the best professional practices in the conduct of its responsibilities, and therefore is hereby, upon the recommendation of the members of the governing board of the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Accreditation Group, awarded this certificate of accreditation, effective the 20th day of May, actually 2013, will be effective for another 3 years, and is recognized as a Wisconsin accredited law enforcement agency for a period of 3 years, signed by Greg Peterson, the police chief up in Grand Chute, and the president of Wiley Ag. Congratulations, Chief. If I could finally say just a few more words. Wiley Ag started in the mid-1990s. I've been a commissioner since 1998. We have seen tremendous growth and an interest in accreditation on all sorts of levels. It is very clear that the West Allis Police Department is a leader in this state, and you should be very proud of their accomplishments. A number of police chiefs have committed to this process going back to the mid-1990s, late 90s. I became a commissioner in 98. I've always seen West Allis PD as an exemplar of the way law enforcement should be done and its commitment to professional standards. I'm also biased because I lived on the border of West Dallas my whole life when I was growing up. So I give that bias, that caveat, but I still think that this police department is an outstanding police department as evidenced through its commitment to the Wiley Act standards. So I will be quiet at this point in time, and I'm willing to take any questions or comments from anybody from on the board or anybody out in the community. I guess we said it all, huh? Okay, again, thank you very much for this opportunity. And Mayor, I don't know if you'd like to say something.
Thank you, Mr. Stojkovic. I just wanted to recognize the officers that we have here that worked very, very hard in allowing us to become reaccredited. We've had tremendous turnover in the last couple of years, and they were able to keep us going and get all the good work done. It's Deputy Chief Bob Fletcher, Captain Steve Byer, Lieutenant Chris Belden, and Sergeant Phil Noche. They all worked very hard and worked very well as a team to get us reaccredited. So I wanted to recognize them and thank them for their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, we'll now move on to item E on our agendas, the public hearings. We have 3 this evening. I will ask the clerk to read public hearing number 1.
A hearing on the resolution authorizing the Director of Development to negotiate the sale of public lands located in the City of West Dallas at 9 South 90th Street, tax key number 442-0131-000, to Kenneth Zeman.
Mr. Stiebel?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item relates to selling some surplus land. The land is a vacant lot in a series of vacant lots through the city that provide for stormwater conduit. In this particular block, this lot here is vacant. It has a large storm sewer that runs through it, and also a sidewalk that goes through the middle of the lot, as noted along here, because it is such a large, long block. The storm sewer that runs through that is about 85 inches by 54 inches, which is about 7 feet and 5.5 feet wide. So it takes up almost the entire lot. So the lot is virtually undevelopable. But the city owns the lot, and this is an effort to try to get those lots back into private hands. In this case, as in the previous case last month, we wanted to sell it to either one or both of the abutting property owners, and in this case, one of them decided not to, and one of them wanted to. And the purpose of the public hearing this evening is to provide for that sale of that lot. The Plan Commission has reviewed this proposal, has recommended approval, and we've received no objections to date. If you have additional questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Do we have any questions or comments from the alderman on this item?
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Weigel?
John, so I saw there that the lot becomes property of the person we're selling it to, and they have to pay the taxes on it. Could they park a vehicle on it as long as it doesn't block the sidewalk? The sidewalk stays.
The sidewalk stays.
And they shovel the sidewalk, or we plow the sidewalk?
The city still shovels the sidewalk.
Okay. So now back to my question. Can he park his boat with his trailer on that lot now? It's his lot, correct?
If he has a hard surface, just like
okay, all the
else,
other rules apply.
All rules apply.
He wants to have a Labor Day cookout. He can put a tent up there and have his friends over. And
anything
it's his lot.
He or she wants.
Okay. Just curious. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Any other questions or comments from the council? Okay, seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the audience on this item? Okay, seeing none, we will close public hearing number 1, and I will ask the clerk to read number 2.
A hearing on the special use permit for a proposed extension of hours for Taco Bell located at 11011 West National Avenue.
Mr. Stiebel?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Taco Bell currently operates at 9 a.m. in the morning to midnight, 7 days a week. They're proposing, what they'd like to do is 5 a.m. to 1 a.m. On Sunday through Tuesday, and 7 a.m. to 3 a.m. the balance of the week. And then the lobby or the inside of the restaurant would only be open 7 a.m. to midnight. About 2 years ago, Taco Bell had made a similar request, and the Common Council had approved a 5 a.m. till midnight. We require all applicants to sign the approving resolution, and they did not within a year, so that approval expired. And that's the purpose of this public hearing tonight, is to reconsider that and to reconsider their original request. One of the issues that the Common Council has seen in the past is a cruiser impacted Highway 100. And you'll notice that there's very few restaurants that are open after 1 p.m. But there are currently 3. There were 4, but one of them is closed out. But they were approved in 1983, 1986, prior to the real issue of cruising. And since then, the Common Council has been fairly consistent in approving about midnight. The exception being Krispy Kreme, which they allowed to be a 24-hour operation. In the balance of the city, where cruising is not a major problem, you'll notice that the McDonald's over here on 84th and Greenfield has 24 hours, and many of them have 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. The Plan Commission has reviewed their request and has recommended to the Common Council that you approve a 5 a.m. to midnight, essentially what they approved several years ago. If you have any additional questions, I or a representative of the restaurant would be glad to answer them.
Mayor Devine.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Alderman Sengstock.
Mr. Stiebel, I confer with Alderperson Rankin with respect to the request of Taco Bell to expand what they presently have, and we have no issue with expansion of what they're seeking, as long as it's not in advance or more than what McDonald's has. We with the residential area immediately to the north, there are times that we do get calls from those neighbors, and our concern always, of course, is for the residents and traffic either driving through from Nashville Avenue all the way, making the shortcut through the McQuantico area onto Cleveland. So is this the same time framework that McDonald's operates under?
Yes.
Okay.
Does this include
the drive-through? Because I believe McDonald's goes until midnight.
Yes.
And they're asking.
It will be the identical hours of McDonald's.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank
Mayor
you,
Devine.
Alderman Sengstock. Alderman Reinke.
John, are you sure about McDonald's being till 1? Did you say?
No, McDonald's is 5 a.m. to midnight.
Midnight. Well,
Which is
that's what I thought. Alderman Singstock and I like to have the restaurants remain consistent with the hours in the area. Up until now, we have remained consistent because we don't want to open the door to restaurants being open beyond the 12 mark in that area, because it is a partial residential area that the neighbors have complained in years past. So we do want to remain consistent with this particular hour. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from the council?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman May.
Mr. Stiebel, I was a little bit confused by that last slide. It said the Plan Commission recommends changing the hours from 5 a.m. to midnight. Are they recommending keeping the hours of 5 a.m. to midnight, or are they recommending deviating from 5 a.m. to midnight?
They are recommending to make it 5 a.m. To midnight. I believe it's 9 a.m. to midnight today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the alderman? Okay, seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the audience? Okay. Just ask that you state your name and address.
I'm from Taco Bell, Julie Sokolowski, and the address is 11011 West National Avenue. Just to provide some clarity, I do believe that the McDonald's is open, currently in advertising, open until 1 a.m. So I don't know if they're operating past their accepted hours of operation, but we might want to look into that. And then also, currently our hours of operation are 10 a.m. until midnight, not 9 a.m. So,
Okay, great.
yeah, I'll sign it.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
they're currently operating at 10 a.m. to midnight. They're authorized to operate from 9 a.m. to midnight. And McDonald's has been open at 1 o'clock. We have been aware of that, and they have already been issued cease and desist order to comply with their approved hours of operation. If they fail to do that, they'll be subject to revocation.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Is there anybody else in the audience with questions or comments on this item? Okay, seeing none, we will close public hearing number 2, and we will take the public hearing on our supplemental agenda, item 1A. I'll ask Madam Clerk to read that.
A hearing on the resolution approving an amendment to the Community Development Block Grant Program for fiscal year 2013 relative to increasing the 2013 budget, creating a skateboard park project, and creating a 6 Points public parking project.
Mr. Stiebel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. HUD and Congress, I should say, has provided the city additional funds, about $60,000, which allows us to put $11,800 into administration to keep under the 20% cap. Also, we have an issue with contingency funds about how much money we can put into contingency. So what we're proposing of the additional $111,000 is that $46,000 of the new money go into the skateboard park, and then $64,000 for contingency to go into the skateboard park. Now we're sort of parking the money at the skateboard park until we find out exactly what the costs are going to be, which will probably be next summer, or next spring, I should say. And then as well as the skateboard park would then now have about $282,000 plus the additional $150,000 that has been pledged by a private yet undisclosed donor. Also in this, we're creating as sort of just reallocating existing money. Because HUD doesn't want to have funds from outstanding allocations for a long period of time, there is about $250,000 in separate increments in, I think, 06, 07, 08, 09, 010, that amount to $250,000. So what we're going to do is close those out and then put that money back into a new project, which is the purpose of the public hearing, to create this parking lot. Now, the parking lot is designed to be able to flow into the existing parking lot that was funded many years ago. One nice thing about this parking lot is it provides for additional parking for the commercial areas in the 6 Points neighborhood. But just as importantly, as the 6 Points redevelopment area begins to grow and expand and bring in more residents, the traffic volumes we are projecting along National Avenue are going to increase appreciably. And we are fairly certain that the engineering department is going to recommend at some date in the not too distant future that we take all parking off National Avenue. If we do that, we need to accommodate more cars. And again, that's another reason for this parking lot, so that we can prepare for the future. And also provide existing businesses some additional parking. If you have additional questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Are there any questions or comments from the council on this item?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman May.
John, back on when I was on CDBG, anytime the award was increased by an increment to $50,000 or more, we always wanted to come back to us at CDBG. Has that committee seen this? Are they okay with this allocation?
That I do not know.
Okay, so they probably haven't reviewed it yet.
But I believe it's 100,000 or a new project.
Okay. And how many? I'm sorry, Mayor.
It's 56,000 is the new money, but we're creating a new project by combining funds from that same project. So it's not really creating it; it's just moving the funding from 06, 07, 08, 09, 010, put it into contingency, and then funded it in 2013.
Okay. And how many parking stalls will that create?
About 17.
So parking's not free.
Now,
Thank you.
the funds that we have set aside are, again, parked in the parking lot in the sense that we are proposing to do a green parking lot, and that about 60% of the parking lot will be paved, asphalt paving as normal, but the other 40% will have porous bricks and about 8 inches of gravel for the water to settle so that it meters out slowly. Now, we will take a look to see what the bids come in at next spring as to whether, or this fall. Actually, I think in September, we're currently bidding it right now. Then in September, we'll bring it back to the Common Council and the Board of Public Works for full consideration.
Any other questions or comments from the council?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Reinke?
John, the pavement you had mentioned being a percentage of both kinds. Why aren't we using, say, for instance, the pervious pavement?
Essentially, this is
more costly?
An impervious paving parking lot by design.
Okay.
Part of it is impervious, the 60%, and then the 40%, all we need is 40% to accomplish our five-year stormwater retention goal. So we can do that without being totally, it saves probably about $80,000 by not making the whole parking lot a porous parking lot or a green parking lot.
I see, because cities now all over the United States are looking into the green aspect.
I think engineering did a great job of looking at this, trying to fulfill the objective of a green parking lot at the cheapest possible cost, and with a very creative design.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Are there any other questions or comments from the council on this item? Seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the audience on this item? Seeing none, we will close our third public hearing. We will move on to item F on your agendas, citizen participation. This is where residents can address the council on matters of interest to them. We ask that you keep your comments to approximately 5 minutes, and we ask that you also state your name and address for the record when you speak. Is there anybody who wishes to address the council under citizen participation this evening?
Robert Brown, 2160 South 86th Street, and I came here tonight to see if I can't get one of the aldermen to take over what seems to be shoved on my shoulders all the time. And I know the police just got a award, but I'm saying, and it can be proven, I brought it to your attention, I don't know how many times in the past, the illegal acts and corruption and wrongdoing being done by the city attorney's office and the police department. You all know some of the stuff I brought up before. The city attorney office is telling people not to show up when citizens have trials. They're telling them to ignore the subpoenas they're served, keep the money that they're given, and they're wasting. Let's take my case for instance. When just about 2 years ago, when he had trouble at State Fair with the inner city residents, the city invited and cuddled to and loved up the Nazi party who had their meeting in the front. They're in a little cage, 18 people. The city had 90-some officers to protect the Nazis that were in front of this building here. I walked around with a sign saying, "Who's paying for all of this?" I didn't get involved with the protest because I won't go anywhere near people with drums and blow horns. My organizations don't do that stuff. So I stayed away from them, but nevertheless, in the back of the building, I was about 20-some feet away from where they had a marker where you can't go. And somebody thought I had a whole group of people who was going to charge these 100 people in riot gear. And everybody knows the story. I was by myself. I was with nobody. You had a policeman who I don't know if he's on drugs or what was wrong with him that day. He imagined, he even testified in court to it. Okay, part of my complaint is this. I think the mayor got involved it was a month ago when wasting money with these trials. I had a jury trial over that it was a disorderly conduct. The jury found me not guilty. The city of West Allis appealed at appellate court, saying that that the presumption of the judge gave faulty jury instructions. Okay, the appellate board agreed. They said the presumption of innocent, in other words, I shouldn't be presumed innocent, which is, it's a nothing thing. But anyway, they agreed with them. Now we have to go back for another trial. The city is going to be asking the judge in, I think, about 2 weeks, that I pay the $1,100 they spent in the appellate court. I won the case already. Now I got to go back and do another trial. And if I win, the city still wants $1,100, even though if I win 2 jury trials from them. That reminds me, you guys all heard about the squirrel case, how stupid that's been. Spending thousands of dollars running down, charging people with feeding squirrels and with peanuts and stuff. All of this money, and you got another, let me bring another thing. I was involved where somebody was a half inch from the curb, and they got a citation. Later on, the police were called. I know you're making faces. Shame on you. It's in your district. Mr. Slapinski. Somebody was 2 feet from the curb. You know what the police did? I took a picture of them because they weren't going to do nothing about that car. People with a half inch or less get a ticket. If you're 2 feet away, they won't do nothing because they got a certain clique, the police, on who they give these tickets to. I took a picture of them, and they called for backup. 4 squad cars come flying up. They mistook me for the man that feeds squirrels. They thought I was him, so they wanted to arrest me. This is what goes on here. Who's going to investigate when it's actually it's crime when you tell people not to appear for trials at circuit court? I got an upcoming trial. Is the city attorney going to tell all my witnesses not to show up again?
You have 1 minute remaining.
We subpoena these witnesses. We pay them to come. They're verified. They're notarized subpoenas, and they have to come. In every other city except West Allis. I don't know how they get away with it. Nobody says anything to the police department. They got a big plaque tonight. What a great job they're doing. Who should we blame for all this stuff going on? The city attorney? Nobody will look into them. Nobody will look into the police department. I'm telling you what's going on. You still sit around like, oh, that ain't my job. Whose job is it when you got people committing crimes that work for the city of West Allis? Is it my job to go spend more time looking these up? And by the way, that's why I'm not going to get into these guys that were marching in West Allis, because I won't go with them because I don't beat drums and blow horns.
Mr. Brown, that's time.
Okay, I just hope one of you might take up these issues. They're real issues. I hate to go into court and have to start arguing this stuff that I just brought up tonight.
Is there anybody else that wishes to address the council under citizen participation this evening?
Good evening. My name is Mary Hensel, 2129 South 58th Street. We're going to collectively speak about an event happening for West Allis business, and so I'm going to have someone else start.
Hi, my name is Alex Lombard. I'm with Creative Employment Opportunities. We are a company that offers employment assistance for individuals with disabilities. I'll give you a little bit of background about who we are as a company. We were founded 20 years ago by Professor Laura Owens of UWM, who was looking to take her innovative research in the field of integrated employment and put it into practice. In many ways, we were one of the first companies in the city to use techniques that are today standard operating procedure. We're entirely community-based, and our focus is entirely on employment. As a company, we try to move away from the stereotypical view that individuals with disabilities can only fill low-skilled positions. Instead, a number of our clients work in law firms, healthcare, and specialized manufacturing. So we view our services as not just beneficial for our clients, but for employers and the community which they serve. After all, an employed individual is a taxpayer, and doesn't have to rely on government benefits. So I'll pass it off to.
Thanks, Alex. Alex let you all know that the focus of our work is employment for people with disabilities, and that's true. But it's also true that because our director is a professor and she's also the director of a national advocacy organization, we get roped into some other things too. So we've been working in concert with the national Employment First movement, and Employment First really seeks to, like Alex said, change the conversation about what employment for people with disabilities looks like. We really want to talk about real work for real wages. That's real work that needs to be done out in the community in integrated settings. And so, that can be a civil rights issue. That can be something that people say, oh, you know what, we really should employ people with disabilities because it's the right thing to do. But beyond that, it really is a fiscal and an economic issue that governments across both state, local, and the federal government are all taking up this issue. And Wisconsin, frankly, is kind of lagging behind. For a long time, we had been a leader in this field, but now, unfortunately, we're lagging behind. Even our rival to the south, Illinois, has already passed us. And this really, I'm encouraging all of you to think of West Allis and think of Wisconsin as a place where we take these opportunities to be leaders. And Mary's going to talk a little bit more specifically about how you all can do that.
So for many of you who are involved in business owners, know people who have hiring issues, we're having an event at the Pettit Ice Center in October. October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And what we propose to do at this event is to bring businesses together to talk about the barriers to hiring people with disabilities and the successes of hiring people with disabilities. We will have businesses there that have hired some of our clients from our agency, Creative Employment Opportunities. We also want people to know that there are services available for businesses, including pre-screening candidates, people that we work with on a day-to-day basis that we know what their abilities are and what their specialties are. We also want to make sure that businesses understand that we're interested in their bottom line, that this is not charity work. This is fulfilling work for people who can do the job and will be successful at it.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you. Also, it's a great opportunity to network with their peers. So businesses can come and network, and we can certainly provide information for them to learn more about hiring people with disabilities and making West Allis, local leader in that. That's really all I have, but we have one more person to quickly say hello, and that's Edward Sheehy and his son, Charlie.
My name is Edward Sheehy. I'm a 20-year resident of West Allis. This is my son, Charlie. And we're here to put a little bit of a human face on what you've just heard, in that Charlie has been employed at the Pettit National Ice Center for 5 years now. He does light maintenance and cleaning. He's very proud to go to work every day. We tried to count up the number of days he's missed because of illness or injuries in 5 years, and I came up with 3 days that he's missed. He's a valued employee there, and I would urge any of you that are interested in this issue to speak, for example, with the management at the Pettit National Ice Center and ask them what they think about this idea and how it's worked for them. There are other employers in West Allis, a number of Walgreens, and we would urge you to discuss this with your business constituents. It's a good thing. He's a taxpayer. He earns money and he pays his taxes here, and he's my hero. Very proud of him.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for the presentation. It was very valuable. Do we have anybody else who wishes to address the council under citizen participation this evening?
Do you want me to sign my name first or after I talk?
You can sign after. You can sign after.
After.
Or before.
Okay, my name is Violet Brown, and I'm the wife of Robert Brown, and I want to thank you all and the mayor for doing a very good job in West Dallas. The only thing is I was a little disappointed with this. When he went down to the city hall, they're having that big protest, and he said he wants to go down there with a poster and with some other people. He wanted me to go down, and I said, no, I'm going to the church that day, Saturday. I cannot go. But anyway, he went there, and he had a poster just saying to the police, who is paying for all of this? That was the only thing that he had written down. He had nobody with him, and I know he's kind of outspoken. But anyway, I did have to pick him up at the heart hospital. He was not feeling good. I don't know if he had a heart attack or what. But anyway, he said that he was arrested. And he thought maybe they took revenge on him because he had that little poster saying, who's paying for all of this? All the police from Milwaukee and all these other suburbs. And that was kind of disturbing there because I thought, well, they could see he's an older man. He doesn't have a weapon. He's not, all he is doing is coming by himself. And I believe that under the Constitution, we have a right to speak and to assemble ourselves. And he was not really addressed as an older person the right way. So that's the only thing that I'm trying to talk about. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have anybody else who wishes to address the council under citizen participation this evening? Okay. Seeing none, we will close citizen participation and move on to item G on your agendas. Our standing committees will be meeting during recess. Those room numbers are on page 2 on your agendas. We will now move on to the mayor's report. Just a couple things. One, as I'm sure many of you are aware, a few weeks ago we lost a very, very valuable member of our community, Steve Olowinski, who was a block captain here in the community as well as a captain with the West Dallas Police Reserve. He unfortunately drowned when he was with his family up in Shawano. And I just want to once again pass on condolences to his family. His contribution to the neighborhood as well as the city as a whole will be dearly missed. Secondly, I want to talk about a project going on by an Eagle Scout in our community called Veronica's Place. A resident named Zach Blum is a life scout in room 218 working on his Eagle rank. He has developed a plan to more than double the playground at Jefferson Elementary School, and he is going to name this Veronica's Place in honor of his infant sister who passed away in January of 2013. Veronica was born in November. She only weighed 3 pounds, 7.8 ounces, and only 3% of all babies born at 34 weeks are born at that size. She spent 4 weeks in ICU, passed all her tests, and went home. Sadly, she passed away when she had a moment of apnea that her little body could not recover from. While grieving the death of his sister, Zach was visited by the youth minister at his church and she suggested to him that he call the project and the playground Veronica's Place as a dedication to his sister. So Jefferson School agreed to allow Zach to dedicate the playground. He is thankful for this project, and he is working very hard at raising money. So if anybody is interested in contributing, he is, I believe, over about $12,000 right now. His goal is $55,000. If anybody has any benefit ideas in mind or would like to make a contribution, there is a page on Facebook, or you can call my office and I could get you in touch with Zach and his teammates on this effort. And I'll close with good news. The popular public television show Around the Corner with John McGivern is going to be filming this week in West Allis. I had an interview with him this morning. They go through communities all around the state, point out the high points, the attractions, and just talk about the little inroads in the city that somebody who drives through may not notice, and maybe will stop by in the future. So he's going to be focusing on the farmers market and state fair and a lot of the other great amenities that we have in the city. That concludes the mayor's report this evening. Do we have any reports from the alderman?
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Weigel.
Of course, everybody in town's aware what is going on this week in West Allis. It's Wisconsin State Fair time again. And once again, through a special arrangement with the Community Development Authority, the West Allis Hale and West Allis Central High School booster clubs are parking cars at an undeveloped lot on the 8200 West Greenfield Avenue, the old Mykonos site. A lot of you might think of it like that. I'd invite everybody, when you come to the fair, if you don't walk or ride your bike or take the bus, if you take your car and you're going to need to park it somewhere, to come over to 82nd and Greenfield and park there. It helps support the high school sports here in West Allis. It's been a very generous fundraiser for us for the last couple of years, and we're looking forward to the benefit the community will get from it this year, and we're looking forward to not parking cars there next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Weigel. Do we have any other alderpersons' reports this evening?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Reike.
I just want to recap of the July 4th celebration that we just had last month. I know this is a month late, but we only have one council meeting a month. So I'd like to thank everyone who attended, participated, assisted, or donated for our Independence Day celebration. It means a lot to my committee and myself and the council as well. Just to look back a little, the veterans certainly appreciated the honor that we gave them at the breakfast that we had. Also, the parade was a crowd pleaser. I think you all can agree that if you saw it, it was really a fantastic parade. And the grandstand show and fireworks were awesome. It truly was a grand celebration for our community, and we as a committee, we as a council, enjoy putting something like this on for our community. It is only with your support that we can continue this fine celebration and this wonderful tradition that our community affords. So I can't thank you enough for your participation.
Thank you, Alderman. Do we have any other alderpersons' comments this evening? Alderman May.
I just want to quickly, we're working on our strategic planning committee with Alderperson Probst and yourself and myself. And one of the comments that was made is one of the strengths in West Allis is we know how to celebrate. And of course, as our celebration head-in-chief, Rosalie Reinke, she does a wonderful job with the parade and all the events in the city. So I just wanted to thank you as well for a job well done.
All right. Thank you, Alderman. Are there any other alderpersons' comments this evening?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
I move for approval of the minutes of the Common Council regular meeting of July 1st, 2013.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman Sangstock. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Items not referred to committee, I'll ask for a motion to place item 3 on file and refer item 4 to our city attorney.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Probst, second by Alderman May. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. License and Health Committee, Alderman Safinski.
first like to report on item number 5 on tonight's agenda. This is a new tavern operator's license. It was voted for approval by 3 members, with 1 member voting no and 1 member being excused. I'd like to move for the adoption of this portion of the committee's report.
Second.
There's a motion with a second. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman May.
As always, I'm always curious to know the reason for the no's.
In this case, there's 2 drug arrests, 1 for paraphernalia, 1 for actual drugs in 2010 and 2011. And you constantly hear from the police department that bars are a large place where drugs are passed, and so I've always been very hard on people that have either taken drugs, selling drugs, or the paraphernalia. So.
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Sengsak.
Chairman Jablonski, how many alcohol-related offenses did this applicant have?
I don't know.
Do you have the file in front of you?
None, prosecutor.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Weigel?
Aye.
Chapletsky?
No.
Lysick?
Aye.
May?
No.
Probst?
Aye.
Ranky?
No.
Rote?
Aye.
Sengstack?
Aye.
Vitale?
Aye.
6 in favor, 3 opposed.
Motion carries.
Then we have item number 6. This is also a new tavern operator's license. Once again, it was voted for approval by 3 members, with 1 member voting no and 1 member excused. I'd like to move for adoption of this portion of the committee's report.
Second.
We have a motion with a second by Alderman Weigel. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Sengsak.
Chairman Jablonski, I would like to hear the chair's comments in terms of the affirmative votes from the committee, as well as that of Alderperson Weigel as to his no vote.
Mr. Chairman, if you'd like me to.
Alderman Weigel.
My no vote was based on the applicant's application, actually. That dreaded question where we asked them if they've ever been arrested, convicted, or charged, and it's very specific about including arrests. And this particular applicant, I believe, put down 1 DUI. And I hold the record in front of me, and although there is a DUI conviction, there is at least 1 other DUI arrest. There's a disorderly conduct with a motor vehicle. There's a carry concealed weapon. There's resisting or obstructing an officer. That was an arrest that was dismissed. But the point is that this applicant had to me, what seemed like a very sordid and storied past, and neglected to put it down. Just put down the 1 DUI. There is a DUI conviction. There's another arrest that was dismissed, and then there's another one that's called prohibited alcohol concentration, which was dismissed, which, to my understanding, which would mean a 3rd drunk driving arrest. So that was my reason for voting no on this. So
dismissed.
Yeah.
Alderman Chapletsky.
I just want to answer Alderman Singstock. It's just we looked at the number of things that were dismissed, and we felt it was on the edge, but the majority of the committee felt that it was still okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on item 6? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Weigel?
No.
Chapletsky?
Aye.
Lysick?
Aye.
May?
Aye.
Probst?
Aye.
Ranky?
Aye.
Rote?
Aye.
Sengstack?
Aye.
Vitale?
Aye.
8 in favor, 1 opposed.
Motion carries.
Then we have items number 7 through 21 on tonight's agenda. These were various license communications or reports. They're voted for approval subject to necessary requirements or to place on file, with the exception of 7 and 8, which were to deny by all 4 members, with 1 member being excused. I'd like to move for the remainder of the committee's report.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman May. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to item M, a motion for reconsideration.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Chapletsky.
I'd like to make a motion to reconsider number 22 on tonight's agenda and refer it back to the License and Health Committee.
Second.
There's a motion, there's a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I move that we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meetings.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman Reinke. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are in recess.